You know that smart TV in your living room? Turns out it's way more than just a screen. Right now, it's actually the front line in a huge legal battle over software, control, and your rights as a consumer. What's happening could literally change how all of our smart devices work. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, let me ask you a question. Do you have any idea what's actually running inside that sleek TV? I mean, what's the software that makes it smart? Let's be honest, most of us just turn it on and don't give it a second thought. But the answer is a lot more complicated and way more important than you might think. Because that software, the very code that powers millions and millions of TVs, is now at the dead center of a major legal showdown. And this isn't just some nerdy tech dispute, it's a real fight for control over the devices we all own. And that fight, well, it just hit a massive turning point. So let's break down the news that kicked this whole thing into high gear. Okay, so here's the headline. A judge in California has just issued what's called a tentative ruling, and it looks like a huge loss for the TV giant Vizio. Now, tentative means it's not the absolute final word, but it's a massive signal that could have ripple effects across the entire tech industry. The core of the accusation is actually pretty simple. You see, Vizio's SmartCast operating system is built on powerful open-source software, code that's freely available for anyone to use. But, and this is a big but, that freedom comes with one crucial rule. If you use it and you modify it, you have to share your changes. Vizio is accused of taking the free stuff, but then breaking that one simple rule. And this whole thing is shaping up to be a classic underdog story. I mean, on one side, you've got this small nonprofit watchdog, and on the other, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's a real David versus Goliath situation. So, in one corner, you've got the Software Freedom Conservancy, or SFC. They're a nonprofit that fights for these kinds of software rights. And what's really fascinating here is they're not suing as some big copyright holder. They're suing simply as a consumer who bought a Vizio TV. Their opponent? Vizio, a massive TV manufacturer that was just bought by, well, the biggest retailer in the world. And when I say massive, I am not kidding. Walmart recently scooped up Vizio for a staggering, get this, $2.3 billion. That's the kind of power and the kind of deep pockets that the CFT is going up against. It really puts the Goliath in David versus Goliath. So what exactly is this rule that this corporate giant is accused of breaking? To understand it, you don't need a computer science degree, honestly. We just need to think about it like we're sharing a recipe. The legal agreement at the very heart of this case is called the General Public License, or the GPL. It's basically the foundation of the open source world. And the core promise is simple. You can use the software for free, you can change it, you can build incredible things with it, but if you share your new creation with others, you also have to share the instructions, the source code for how you made it. Let's just stick with our analogy. Imagine some awesome developers create a fantastic cake recipe. That's the source code. And they share it with the world for free. Vizio comes along, takes that recipe, adds its own secret frosting, and starts selling this new amazing cake. The GPL says that's totally fine, but if a customer asks, hey, what's in this cake, Vizio has to share their modified recipe. That's the deal. The SFC says they bought the cake, they asked for the recipe, and Vizio refused. Now, you might be thinking, okay, why would a huge company like Vizio worry about a rule like this? They'll just ignore it and hope it doesn't hold up in court. But here's the thing. This isn't some new or untested idea. This license has been around the block, and it's got a long and very successful history in the legal system. If you rewind to the early 2000s, yeah, there was some uncertainty about whether these open source licenses could really be enforced. But then that all changed. In 2007, the first ever US lawsuit to enforce the GPL was filed, and it won. Soon after that, huge companies like Verizon faced similar lawsuits, and they complied, realizing that fighting this was probably a losing battle. For the last 2 decades, U.S. courts have consistently said that the GPL is a valid, enforceable contract. Period. So, the crucial point here is that experts are not really surprised by the judge's tentative ruling against Vizio. The legal precedent is incredibly strong. The rules of the road have been clearly established for years, which honestly makes Vizio's decision to fight this so fascinating. Okay, so a lawsuit, a software license, a tech giant, why does any of this really matter to you and the TV that's in your home? Well, it turns out it matters a great deal. This case is so much bigger than just Vizio. It reinforces the idea that when you buy a device, you have the right to understand how it works and maybe even modify it.
It's about holding these massive corporations accountable to the rules of the software communities that they benefit from. And ultimately, it protects the entire open source ecosystem. That's the engine that powers so many of the gadgets we rely on every single day.
And all of that leaves us with a final, crucial question. In a world where our homes are just filling up with smart devices, from TVs and speakers to refrigerators and security cameras, who gets to be in charge? Should it be the companies that make them or the people who actually own them? This case against Vizio is just one battle, but it is part of a much larger war over the future of technology, transparency, and control.